Chicago, 2011. A cop is murdered. Police and prosecutors swear they have the trigger man. He swears he didn't do it. How far will each side go to prove they're right?
Like it's just one bombshell after another, where you're like, what?
The story of a PlayStation, a brain-eating amoeba, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Off Duty, out now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellas wherever you get your podcasts.
Let's be completely honest. Are you happy with your job? The fact is, a huge number of people can't say yes to that. Too many of us are stuck in a job we've outgrown or one we never really wanted in the first place. But we stick it out and we give reasons like, what if the next move is worse? And I've put years into this place. And maybe the most common one, isn't everyone miserable at work? But there's a difference between reasons for staying and excuses for not leaving. It's time to get unstuck. It's time for Strawberry.me. They match you with a certified career coach who helps you get from where you are to where you want to be, either at your existing job or by helping you find a new one. Your coach helps clarify your goals, creates a plan, and keeps you accountable along the way. Go to strawberry.me/career and get 50% off your first coaching session. That's strawberry.me/career.
Hello and welcome to the Psych Legal Pop Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about popular culture through the lens of an attorney and a therapist. I'm Brooke Brigham, I'm the attorney.
And I'm Tess Brigham, I'm the therapist.
Today we are going to talk about a documentary on Netflix. It's called Escaping Twin Flames.
Ooh.
And you may have heard, if you haven't watched it, you may have heard about this twin flame cult. It is a cult. Okay, let's just be clear.
It is a cult. Yeah.
It's about a cult. And so we are going to talk about the documentary and talk about this weird cult and these weird people, Jeff and Shaleia. She changed her name. Her name is actually Megan something.
Is it Megan? Yeah, I wrote it down here.
She changed it to Shaleia Divine. And he changed his name also.
Oh, he did? Well, he changed it at one point when he was trying to get the life coaching stuff rolling. I don't know if I wrote that down. Oh, no, it's Ender Ionathos. When he was a lifestyle guru.
Okay. But I think his name is Jeff
Ion.
Okay.
Ion.
I don't know if that's his legal name or not. Who knows with these people? Yeah. They're cuckoo crazy. So, what did you think about this whole thing?
I just want to say that I have never in my life wanted to punch someone more than I want to punch Jeff. I mean, he was insufferable and very difficult to watch. Like I was starting to feel bad for Shaleia. Yeah. I was starting to wonder about her and like, are you safe, Shaleia? Blink twice. It's a little bit of this guy. He is unreal. And so just as someone as myself, so in addition to being a therapist, I'm also a coach. And what I think is so interesting about these kinds of people that start these programs and the promises that they make, I often say I'm not a millionaire because I've never been willing to lie to people about what you're going to get from something. Mm-hmm. And, there's a lot of coaches out there. And so there's not a lot of oversight, very different than the world of therapy. And, I've been working on building my coaching business for a long time, and it's hard. It's really, really hard because the saturated and there's so many people out there and there's a lot of people making these big, big promises. And that's a thing I've seen this over and over again. It's like, when you approach it from this place of you will grow and change, I don't know exactly what that's going to be. People come to me all the time wanting to talk about relationships and how do I get into a relationship and how do I do this and that. And I always say, like, I can't guarantee you.
Right.
Like that, we have no control over that. I can help you feel better about you, and I can help you feel better about being single and how to use this time and how to think about this time of your life and the mindset pieces of it. But I can't guarantee you anything.
Well, I was just going to say that word guarantee. That's the difference between like someone who's legitimate or not legitimate. And the world of coaching, it's like the Wild West because you're not required to be certified or licensed in any way. And literally anyone can call themselves a coach.
Yes.
And so like you said, you tell people, I can work with you on this, but literally they're guaranteeing people, you follow our program, you will find your twin flame. You will find the love of your life, the promises that they make to people. That's the criminal part of it, I think, and they just charge them these exorbitant fees. And then when they're not finding the love of their life or their twin flame or whatever, they say, well, it's because you're not trying hard enough. And, if you really want to do this, you'll send us another $2,000 so that you can get access to these other, YouTube videos or whatever stuff they put out. And then if you watch all those videos, then and you do what we say, then it'll work. And it's just this constant like promising and then blaming for you're not trying hard enough. And that's why this is not working.
And there are a lot of coaches in the atmosphere right now. And I've seen it. And I've actually, as I've been building my business, I've actually fallen for it here and there because it feels very enticing where, whether it's a business coach or a manifest coach or this kind of coach, whatever it is there's a lot of people out there that they take a weekend course or they take a course. They call themselves a coach. And, and again, I just want to say that because therapists and coaches have a lot of issues with each other. There's a lot of anger from the therapy world about coaches because not only they're not regulated and it doesn't take anything to become one. They actually charge much more than therapists do.
Yeah.
It's which is crazy to think about. And what it took for me to become a licensed psychotherapist versus what it took me to become a certified coach, I can't even tell you, like a fraction.
But at least you're a certified coach. You actually are a certified coach. You went, you did a program,
I went through the process.
You took an exam, whatever. And that coupled with your experience as a licensed therapist, that actually means something. There are these people who just go out and say, yeah, I'm a life coach. They've never educated themselves about any of this stuff a day in their life. And there's no regulation of it.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things that a lot of these coaches do. And I don't know if they even, are aware of how dysfunctional it is, but that's a big part of the whole like manifesting world and this idea of, you just need to manifest it. You just need to secret it and like, think about it really, really hard. And I do believe in energy and I do believe that you get back what you put out in the world. But the thing is that just willing, just sitting around and thinking about your twin flame or thinking about, anything in life. Yeah. There are so many things. There are things in life that you can do that you have control over. But when it comes to relationships, that's one where it's like you're never going to have complete control because you're dealing with another person who is their own person that you can't control. And so I see this a lot with clients where in some ways, this is why a lot of people focus on their careers, because in careers, they feel like they have a lot more control and there's more that they can do. And when it comes to relationships, it's like, I don't know. I don't know what is going to happen for anyone, but that kind of doesn't matter. Because as someone who's been married 20 years, like being married and having a partner does not automatically mean that you're happy, your life is easy, or any of these things. Certain things in my life are better or easier because of my husband. we have this podcast. But the flip side of it is that it doesn't guarantee anything. And I think that's one of the other things that drives me crazy is this idea, I think, especially for women, that you have to be in a relationship in order to be completely fulfilled.
Yeah, to be full. Yeah, exactly. And that's what struck me as being so sad is that it's mostly women. I saw very few men, if any, who were paying for these services. And that it was sad to me that these women thought that it was, this was like the be all and end all to their existence. Like if they didn't have a true love, a true partner, whatever, that their life was not complete. And it's like, well, I'm sorry, but you're not going to find that person like sitting at home being on the internet. You have to go out in real life and meet people. And one of the postscripts at the end of the documentary said that the rise of people, getting involved with these online cults and organization, whatever you want to call them, has really dramatically increased since the pandemic.
Yeah.
Because people were home alone and lonely. And so they go online and they're just more vulnerable and susceptible to these things. And anyway, I mean, we'll talk about this, throughout the whole.
One last thing to that point. The other thing is that it doesn't surprise me, besides being home alone and feeling lonely and that part, but also, the world that we're living in today it feels very out of control. It feels, right, there are things happening that we can't control. There's political, there's so much happening. And since the pandemic, we have been feeling as a country, as a world, just really on edge and really anxious. And so what happens is that people will, and it's understandable, they want to find some things in their lives they can control. Let me go find something I can control in my life that will make me happy, that will make me feel like, make me feel better about myself, about the world, all of that. And then what happens is that what Jeff and Shaleia were selling was essentially false control. Like you have your twin flame, they're right there. So now it's very black and white, right? This is the person.
Go for it.
Go for it. And this is your person. And so it makes, in some ways, it makes you feel like, oh, okay, this is my person. And I can, even if this person doesn't want to be with me, I can focus on this person. It gives me something to focus on and control. And it's very, very black and white. That I see this a lot, especially, with social media and how we have such short attention spans, that people really struggle with the shades of gray. And life is all these shades of gray. And we want things to be one way or the other. We want it to be black or white because that's what makes us feel better. And so I think that's that other part of it too, where it's like the world's blowing up around me, but I have my twin flame and I have hope and focus.
I can count on that
Yes, exactly.
But you can't. Anyway.
No.
So start us off with
well, there's three parts.
Where did all this start?
Well, there's three parts of this documentary, and so we're not going to go through everything line by line, but we open up and we learn about one of the people that has been sort of sucked into this cult. We meet Paula, who has this twin sister, Stephanie, who started in this Twin Flames community in 2018. And we see the sister, trying to make a police report. Is it police or would it be the FBI about this cult?
No, I think it was like a state.
State police?
I think I was reporting it to the state police. I don't know what state, if it's the state where Jeff and Shaleia lived. But let's just also say, just to set this up, that, this okay, so Jeff and Shaleia started this Twin Flames universe. I was
Ascension School.
Yeah, Ascension School.
Yeah,
and it started out online, YouTube. They would post YouTube videos. They started, like this online community, and that's how they would suck people in. And then get them to pay money to, get more content from them. But when we talk about the community and how these people got involved, this is all online, and like one of the women, I think it was Keely,
Because she was one of the
very high
people,
up in the she said that she was going through a time in her life and she just started Googling, like, how do I find my true happiness? How do I find I don't know if she even used the word twin flame, but whatever algorithm she was searching for something online. And this cracks me up because it's like, this is a generational thing. I had a hard time relating to a lot of this stuff because it seemed like most of these women were like millennial age. And so I never in a million years would ask Google or YouTube, what is the meaning of my life? How do I find happiness? What am I going through? Where's my twin flame? Literally, she was Googling these things.
Well,
so I don't know.
Surprised how many people Google these kinds of things.
I was blown away by that. Anyway.
Yes.
Go on.
So what I thought was so interesting was, the fact that this wasn't where they started. Right. Because he did, like we had mentioned earlier, he wanted to be a millionaire. We learned very early on, he wanted to be a millionaire. He had $1,000,001 business ideas. And, he starts off by like moving to Hawaii in 2011, changes his name to Ender. I'm a lifestyle guru. Then he meets Shaleia. And it you can see, if you understand their backstory, about how this man was just throwing stuff at the wall to see what would stick. Like, there's no belief in anything or no real desire to help people. It was just all about like, what will make me the most money? So
he claimed to have psychic abilities. He literally put himself out there as a psychic.
Well, he says he's Jesus.
Oh yeah, he claims to be the second coming.
He compares himself to Jesus. Yes, that he is Jesus. Yes, that's why I really want to punch him. And I think I have the right. I feel like that feels like.
I feel like a jury would acquit you for that.
Yes, thank you.
Those charges.
Thank you.
I would defend you.
Yeah. So we meet. There are a couple people that we follow. We follow Paula and Stephanie. Stephanie is in the program. Paula's her twin sister, and we meet the mother. The other person that we follow a lot is Keely. So Keely is, she was the one that Googled it, and she met this guy at, the meat counter at the grocery store, Colby, and he was really great, and she really, really liked it. But their relationship ended, and she was devastated when he moved back home. And that's when she thought, oh, okay, let me Google this. And then she finds Jeff and Shaleia, and she thinks, okay, these people have all the answers. And that's what I was saying earlier, like the desire, because adulting is hard. Being an adult is really, really hard, and it's not at all what you think it's going to be. So what happens is that so many people, they think like, oh, if I put all my faith in these people, or if they have the answers, then okay, great. I don't have to adult anymore. I don't have to sit with these feelings. But anyway, she bought the book. They wrote a book. And then she started taking the classes. And at the time, she was paying $222 a month, which was a lot of money. And their guarantee was, so your twin flame, did we even say what that is? So your twin flame is your ultimate lover.
And you only have one.
Yes. And the perfect complement of all, which is insane. And so she started, and there were when she found the group, there were about 38,000 people in this group. I'm like, what the what?
It's like a Facebook. Is it a Facebook group or YouTube?
Yeah, I think it started off as a what?
Oh, I think they put a lot of content on YouTube to attract people. So people who are on YouTube just searching for stuff. And then they had some sort of a Facebook group community that you would join, and that's how they cultivated.
And then they had the classes, and then that's how they built it. And their big, the one thing that they do is this thing called the mirror exercise. And essentially the mirror exercise is this, is that you sit down and you write out something that's bothering you, like what's bothering me. And then you stop and you switch all of the pronouns to I, and it forces you to look at yourself. So, Brooke is really irritating me right now, period. And then it's like, I'm really irritating myself right now, or I'm irritable. And the root of it is not bad, but this is how they were able to constantly control people, because nothing was ever anybody else's fault. And it's always on you.
Yeah.
You're not doing this
right.
You're not doing enough.
Yeah.
And the thing is that yes, we can, don't be a victim. Yes, you have to take accountability for who you are and your actions and all of that. But not everything is your fault. Like if you have an abusive partner, that's not your fault. Like that is not on you. That's on them.
The crazy thing was that, okay, so Keely has this guy, Colby, who's, I think she'd broken up with him. She gets involved in this twin flame stuff with Jeff and Shaleia. And they tell her that actually you've already met your twin flame, and it's this guy, Colby. And so you have to go back to him, even though he's an abusive asshole.
Well, no, Colby, I don't think was abusive. It's the other guy that's abusive.
Oh, Marley. Okay, so Keely's sister, right? That's her sister, Marley.
Marley. Marley had the abusive relationship. Colby is the one where she went back to Colby and said, "You're my twin flame." Gave him the book, and he said, "Oh, okay, great." And Colby jumped on the bandwagon too. I didn't think that he would just jump right on.
But that's the thing. Like Jeff and Shaleia would just randomly tell people, "Oh, that guy you just broke up with? He was your twin flame. So you need to go back to him and make it work." Or the guy who broke up with you and doesn't want to have anything to do with you. In the case of this woman, Elle, who, they basically said, "Oh, that guy's your twin flame." And she literally kind of like started stalking him, and they were encouraging her to basically stalk him. He had to get a restraining order against her. So they just say randomly, "Oh, this person's your twin flame. Go after him." And so Keely's sister, Marley, she brings her into the cult. And Marley has this guy who really is an abusive jerk. And they tell her to, that's your twin flame. Go be with him. And he was extremely abusive to her, and it ruined the relationship between Keely and Marley.
Joshua. That's the guy that was with Marley. So we learn about, we're mainly going to follow Keely, Marley, the twin, Paula, trying to hunt down Stephanie. And then Elle, and we meet some other people towards the end as well. But essentially, Jeff's trying to make a name for himself in the lifestyle guru world. He meets Shaleia, who's really Megan Plant. And she's very spiritual. So these two connect, and that sort of helps Jeff bring down this sort of path of spirituality, because she was very spiritual. So they get married in 2016. And I think before they started this twin flame thing, Jeff was claiming as this lifestyle guru that he can heal you for a price from cancer.
Yeah.
I mean,
he had psychic powers.
Unreal.
Could heal cancer.
But that's, that wasn't really doing it for him. So he's like, you know what? I'm just going to switch over to love.
Yeah.
And just go from there. So, and so Keely, we see this. Keely really got connected. She liked it a lot. And you know what I think is so funny about all this is that Jeff and Shaleia lucked out that Colby was that Colby was willing to go along, because that was a real shot in the dark. So the fact that these two are now together, they now really need to sell Colby and Keely.
Yeah,
because they become the product.
Couple.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so they're we got to hold on to these people.
Yeah. It's all like, oh, well, look at Colby and Keely. Look at them. Twin flames. They found each other. We helped them. Like they were the gold standard. Never mind you, nobody else was finding any twin flames.
But then so Keely starts becoming a coach and being trained as a coach. And yeah, they move in together. They move from Massachusetts because was out in Massachusetts. And I think they moved from Massachusetts to Oregon, and they're getting all this pressure from Jeff and Shaleia, like, you need to be posting, you need to be posting. And Keely's like, it felt very false because we weren't so in love and amazing and wonderful all day, every day. And then they told this story about how for their housewarming gifts, they did a GoFundMe for housewarming gifts for Keely and Colby. And then Jeff tells them exactly how to spend all the money.
Yeah, it tells them what to buy, how to decorate their house. Yeah, and this is all these people, I guess this is sort of the personality of a cult leader who's so in love with themselves. They filmed everything. Okay, so like we have footage of all of these, their YouTube videos, their training videos. They encouraged everybody to post on social media all the time. There's just so much footage. And how they got this footage was later on, someone who had access to all of the archived videos and sessions and groups and Zoom calls. They had Zoom calls with all the members, and they recorded everything. And so one of the members who had access to all this recorded stuff left the cult, was disgruntled, and on her way out gave it to Keely and said, I want you to have this just in case. So, so Keely had in her possession, Jeff and Shaleia knew nothing about this. She had in her possession every single thing, twin flame thing that had ever been recorded. And it wasn't just the positive stuff. It was like, there was some footage of when, they would have these Zoom meetings among the insiders, and Jeff would be going off and talking about, you got to do this, and we got to make more money, and you got to bring in more money, because that's how he had all of these members become coaches.
Yes.
And if you were in their program, it was sort of expected that you would have a coach, and they were charging all this money, and they were taking most of it from the people they were coaching and working weren't even making any money.
Yeah, they were making $60 a session, which is ridiculous. Ridiculous.
And he was probably charging like $300 a session.
Yeah. But I also want to say, because I have some issues with some of these larger companies, there are a lot of coaching platforms out there where they'll reach out to me and say, oh, do you want to be a coach on our platform? We'll pay you $50 an hour. And I'm like, no. That is, it's so... This is the other part of it too, is it's incredibly, this is one of the things with the self-help world, is that there's so much, yes, there's a lot of charlatans and there's a lot of misinformation. And then there's this flip side of, you would never offer an attorney $60 an hour. You know what I mean? It just, it just bugs me to no end. But anyway, the $60 isn't that egregious, but you're absolutely right that they and the requirements were very similar to NXIVM, right? Where if you're a coach, you also have to be taking all of these coaching programs, but you don't get them comped. You have to pay for them all.
Yeah.
And then you have to be doing that all the time. And then, and just like NXIVM, there's that whole thing of like the coaches start to become also the what's the word for it? Abusers. Because that's what happened to Keely. And so much of this is just like Keith Raniere and NXIVM. I mean, like parallel to it.
Yeah. And they also would get these members to do all this work for free, like the social media, like people who had experience doing, I don't know, like making videos or editing or social media skills or marketing, any of those skills, they would get them to do all this work for the cult for free.
Which was, and which is very, very common for these cults to do that. And so there were Jeff and Shaleia were the gurus. They were the master teachers. So you could be a master certified ascension coach or a certified ascension coach, but no one could ever be a master teacher. And that's another way that they sort of were able to use a lot of this against people, like, because there's nowhere for you to, there's no top. you're never going to be, you're never going to reach there, which is another cult thing.
So they're getting you to pay more and more money with the promise of, this is going to move you up.
Yes.
But you never really move up.
And if you're not, and if you are having problems and you're not, your twin flame, has got a restraining order against you, well, it's because you are not, your mind isn't in the right space. And therefore you need to take this other class. And that's $2,000.
Right. It's a lot like Scientology does that.
Yes,
where they're making you pay to take these classes and stuff. Yeah.
Yes. So, and then the other thing was they finally have a, I guess in 2018, at the end of 2018, they have their first in-person gathering. And this is when they start to introduce this idea of like, this is your soul family, and your soul family is your only family. And when people don't support your twin flame journey, then that means that they're an energy leak. And so this is how Jeff convinces people to separate themselves from families, much like NXIVM, much like, Scientology. So this is how Stephanie then, writes this letter to her twin sister and her mother saying, well, I don't want to be in your life anymore. And then we meet Marley, who's Keely's sister, who was only 19 at the time, which is crazy. And she's 19, and she sees Keely, and I think again she's seeing Keely posting these things. Keely figured it out. That's great. I want to do this too. And but Marley had this guy reach out to her on the Twin Flame forum, but he was really, really creepy. Really weird, really creepy. And Marley is obviously having a very normal, natural reaction to how creepy and weird he is. And so instead of listening to her gut or listening to her own instincts, Jeff says, well, he's your twin flame. This guy's your twin flame.
That's convenient. Yeah.
And if Marley says, no, I don't know, he's not my twin flame, then what happens is that Marley, what's wrong with you? Why are you pushing this person away? You don't want love. You don't really want to be happy. You don't want any of these things. So she, so she goes to Utah to be with Joshua, and because Joshua can't live with Marley because Joshua can't leave the state of Utah.
He's on probation.
Because, no, Brooke, he was falsely arrested.
Oh, okay.
This is what he told her, that he was falsely arrested. And so because of that, and he was on probation as well for 11 months. And so she's got to go to Utah and be with him. And that's, and again, Keely and Colby, when they got back together, they were only together for 2 months, and then they got married. Like, this is how quickly things were moving. Like this, it's like someone is in your orbit. They're your twin flame. You got to go towards them. Great. Another pair made. Okay. Let's move it on to the next thing.
What Jeff and Shaleia did was, they would get someone's story, and they would literally tell them that basically the last person they were with or had any contact with was their twin flame. So like this woman, Elle, met some guy at Burning Man, and, they had this weird, tumultuous relationship, whatever. And, Jeff was like, oh yeah, that guy's your twin flame. And so Elle was pursuing him. He got a restraining order against her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
sorry,
and,
real quick.
Jeff was still telling her, well, that doesn't matter. You got to keep going after this guy because he's your twin flame.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, Jeff and Shaleia knew about the restraining order. They very well knew what was going on. And the other thing I wanted to say was that the other thing that Elle pointed out was the relationship with this guy wasn't very good. Like, he would run hot and cold. They had a lot of problems. Like, it wasn't a good relationship. And that's why, I think he broke up with her and she was sad.
He broke up with her after she had a car accident and she had a spinal injury, and then he dumped her. Yeah. And this guy's your twin flame. Okay.
So it's you know what? It's so lazy. Do you know what I mean? It is so lazy. It's like, Really?
It's literally like the last man you talked to, that's your twin flame. Like, that's what they did. And like this woman, Shanice, she was in a relationship with some guy, but he was also in another relationship and having a baby with someone else. And they're like, that's your twin flame.
Yeah.
That guy.
Even though he's building a life with someone else. So you wait it out.
You need to go back to that guy. It was so ridiculous that you go, what? And these women, they don't seem, these are attractive women. They don't seem stupid. It's just like, I don't know what is happening here.
I don't know. And it's really surprising. You know what? They also said there are other people in the group with restraining orders. It wasn't just Elle. And you would think that Jeff and Shaleia would be like, oh, we've gotten into like a real sticky situation.
Like we've gone too far.
We probably should rein it back. No. What Jeff would just double down. He just doubled down every time. He's like, no, you have to pursue your twin flame no matter what it is. And so then we get into the really sexist, misogynistic section because Jeff's taken things up a notch.
Yeah.
And Keely and Colby, they're not in a harmonious relationship. She just couldn't feel like how she couldn't bring up how she felt. And Jeff started saying, well, these women, you need to stop being so controlling. That's not sexy. A sexy woman is a patient woman and doesn't control and, basically does what Jeff says. And the big thing was that Keely was saying that Colby was being taught that he was entitled to Keely and sex anytime he wanted. And that's what Jeff was promoting, that twin flame sex, that basically men need sex every day and women can't say no. Women are to submit.
Yeah. He told Stephanie, because this Stephanie, the one who's the twin, who has the sister trying to help her, save her. He basically, there was some guy who basically told her, I'm not interested in you. And she's pining over him. And Jeff says, well, you tell him, let's let our bodies do the talking. Let's take a shower together. Just give it to him. He wants to get laid. He's saying the most insane things to them. Like basically just submit yourself to them. Let them fuck you, do whatever they want you. And then you'll get them. That's how you're going to get them.
Yeah.
And you know what? Jeff is so gross. I kept thinking, what must Shaleia have to be doing sexually for him?
Oh, yeah. No, I think, and you could see as the videos were going along, as they were gaining more and more popularity, and because Jeff's ego wasn't, I think he's always had a huge ego, a big narcissist that he is. But I think that it was like the more people were listening to him, the more it got fed. And you could see he got nastier and nastier to her, meaner and meaner. Yeah, I don't know. And I think that probably Shaleia was maybe very sexually adventurous and free in the beginning of their relationship. And I think he just sort of kept taking it. And I think he likes to keep, he's a typical narcissistic, psychopath kind of person, allegedly. This is my opinion. But that where those kinds of people, they have to keep taking it up a notch. They have to keep taking it up a notch over and over. It's not enough. It's okay. I've reached here. Now I got to go over here. And so, yeah.
Yeah, he was kind of bragging at one point about forcing Shaleia to have sex with him all the time.
Yeah, and she's just like she would say no, and I would just grab her and throw her down on the bed. It's like, oh, that's funny.
That's called rape.
Yes,
Jeff.
And you can be raped in a marriage, FYI.
Of course.
Well, not everyone understands that. So now we're back to poor Marley. She's in Utah. So Joshua, she's 19. Joshua, her twin flame, is 30. He has no job and a criminal record. And Jeff blames Marley for her feelings, right? That this is like, Marley, what's wrong with you? Why, this guy's your twin flame and you're not, you need to be posting a lot and talking a lot about it. And that was the whole thing. Elle comes back on, she was encouraged to contact her twin flame constantly. And so Elle is out on her 30th birthday, like doing her own thing, minding her own business. And it just so happened that her ex was there. He thought she was stalking him. This is her story. I don't know. She might have been stalking him. He thought she was stalking him. He called the cops and took her to jail.
Yeah.
And she spent like a month in jail because the only two numbers she knew was the ex and Jeff and Shaleia's or something like that. I don't know, what the thing was, but yeah, I mean, it's unreal. Like this woman she's sitting in jail, like confused. Like, what is happening to me?
How did I get here?
Yeah. Yeah. So then we move on to, this is where we meet Angie, who's, I think she's in her 40s and she had never really met anybody that was right. And she saw Keely and of course saw that Keely was posting and so happy. And so she asked Keely to be her coach. And so Angie had met a guy at work. So of course that she really was interested in, and they had this connection. So Jeff said, "Oh, this is your twin flame."
Of course, the last person you spoke to, the last man you talked to, that's your twin flame. Wow, this is easy. Thank you. Give me $2,000.
Yes. But I guess, they eventually, what happened? I think this story picks up later on, but basically Angie and this guy, they really connect and they're hanging out one night and I guess they start to kiss. And the guy says, "This doesn't feel right to me. I got to go." And it turns out that the guy either he realized it or whatever happened, that he then eventually entered into a relationship with a man. And
but the signs were probably already there, but she was like taking Jeff's advice to just go for it.
Well, she was so confused. Why would my twin flame?
Because he's gay. Because Jeff just told you to go for the last person you spoke to, and he happens to be gay. This is how asinine this is. It's so stupid.
Well, and so Elle finally calls her parents. They get her out of jail, and then she goes back to the cult. She's in her parents' house and she stayed in the Twin Flames universe and she's trying to explain what happened. And this was unreal. Like Jeff was being so controlling and basically this is when he started using various words to not admit any culpability, liability. But do you remember this part? Because this is the legal stuff that I'm a little confused about. Like, so is Jeff culpable? No. He can't be. He's just encouraging her about the restraining order and being in jail and all of that kind of stuff, right? Because he can't be, right? Because he's just encouraging her.
He's just some rando person telling her what to do. Ultimately, she's responsible for her own behavior.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't know. I mean, it's trying to think of, what are you going to say? This guy had some kind of mind control over me? No,
yeah, I guess really, yeah.
I don't know. It could be mitigating, if you actually had to go to court and explain what happened, it could be mitigating evidence and maybe some judge or jury would take pity on you. I don't know, but it's not like a legal defense.
Yeah. So, and so of course, what's the answer to Elle's problem? She just needs to take more classes. And Jeff said, okay, I'll pay. Well, Jeff said, I'll pay for your classes, but you need to start working for us.
Right.
And that's when he gets this bright idea to get everybody working these crazy long hours, 12 hours a day. What I didn't understand is how any of these people were able to live at all. Because if you're not making any money, even if you're coaching $60 a session, how many sessions are there? And then you're paying all this other money and then you're working 12 hours a day. When can you work for and get real money?
Yeah, I think they probably had to keep their day jobs, but it was like every other waking moment or any time that they could in the middle of the day, they're working for Jeff.
So Jeff comes up with a new idea. And again, he's going to take it to another level. He comes up with this idea of MAP, mind alignment process. And basically they describe it as the mirror exercise on steroids. And then we meet. So I got a little confused. So is it Dr. K? Is that Chrissy? Dr. Chrissy? Is she the PhD CEO?
The man or the woman?
The woman. The woman from the military. that becomes sort of like the
that
main
lady.
person who's driving the train of MAP, because
She was
that
a
becomes her
doctor?
thing. Well, I
She
wrote
was a
down Dr.
doctor?
K, but maybe not.
I don't think she's a doctor. I
so-
think, they had a consultant on the show who was a doctor, the trans gender.
Yeah, that's someone else.
Oh.
No. This is someone maybe I just wrote it wrong. Wrote it wrong. But essentially, there's one woman who I believe her name is Chrissy, who was in charge of MAP. And basically, this is for anyone who's diagnosed with PTSD and trauma. I will just tell you that I don't work with these kinds of cases. Like, this is very specialized, very, very specialized. And so, sure, let Kay do it. So Chrissy do it. So basically, she planted memories because they have to attribute what's going on with Elle. Like, why is this all happening to Elle? And basically, they said made Elle believe that she had been sexually abused, and started to create this rift between her and her parents, the people that she was living with. It was unreal. And so this is when we meet one of the professors that talk about, like, this is very common. All of these things are very, very common in cults, which is these introspective exercises are, they're sort of marketed as tearing apart the self, but really it's this constant like blame and victim that, cults want to isolate you, and creating, if there's no trauma already, creating childhood trauma is a way of doing that. Like, now in
a way of separating you from your family, which is one of the core tenets of cults. You have to separate people from their families. They have to cut their families off, because you don't want the families interfering and saying, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then apparently, so it is, I do believe it's Dr. K. So Dr. K, I don't know if she's a PhD, but she does call herself Dr. K. And so she's very high ranking in the military, and she's in charge of this. And apparently they were encouraging either her and the other people that were doing the marketing to go into other Facebook groups about trauma and PTSD and go into those groups to market themselves.
And recruit people. Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what? This isn't enough. You know what Jeff wants to do now? He's a nutritionist. So Jeff... So they created the Divine Dish, which is basically Jeff and Shaleia eating foods that will help you ground you in your body. So most of the meals were like carb-based meat, and, you had to eat all of it. You couldn't leave anything on your plate. And I mean, then you see this image of Keely, and it was like, what? Keely gained 70 pounds in 9 months.
Wow.
I mean, it was really shocking when you saw her. Like, you see her bebopping along, and then all of a sudden you see this new video of her, and you're like, oh my gosh, what happened?
Yeah, I didn't understand what that was all about. I mean, I know it's just a way for them to make money, but why was...
Well, it was about control. Because Nexium was all about... Nexium, they were controlling them with their bodies, like, not eating. They were starving them, making the women thin. I think this is
the
I think
opposite.
Jeff was like... Yeah, I think Jeff's like, ooh, the skinny thing has been done. I'm going to go for the other thing. And the other thing that he was commenting on was the fact that, and you see it in the videos, that throughout the relationship, Shaleia was gaining weight, which everyone does when you get married and you settle in, people gain weight, you get older, all of that. And so but Jeff, of course, would comment on Shaleia's weight, and they had to, so it was almost kind of like, okay, well, I'll explain this problem by creating the Divine Dish. So of course the coaches had to, take the stupid thing and do all this stuff. And at the same time, just like with Scientology, coaches would, when you're signing people up, they would encourage you to use credit cards, to open credit cards. Isn't that what Marley said? Like, she had never had a credit card in her life, and they opened up a credit card for her and just charged a bunch of stuff. Yeah. So this is when Jeff and Shaleia start bragging about all their wealth. In the very beginning of the documentary, we see Jeff in his Porsche. It's like, oh, get over yourself. Like, thinking that he's the greatest thing ever. And so we start seeing him. They buy this huge house in Michigan. They've got the Porsche. They've got I've got an 85-inch screen TV, all of this stuff. And then, so Keely and, so then Jeff and Shaleia go to Keely and say, you know what? We're going to nominate you as CEO of the coaching platform, but it's really an admin job. And of course, we're not going to pay you. Can you research how we don't have to pay taxes?
Yeah. So
they decide, yes, just like Scientology, they become a church.
Yeah.
And so now
become a church.
they don't have to pay anyone anything because they're all volunteers.
Yeah.
And
well, yeah.
So, but the best is
that's
sorry.
Let's labor fraud, labor abuse. There's so many. At some point, this cult is going to be shut down, and here, they're going to be charged with all of these things like tax evasion, labor violations.
Well, what becomes so weird is then suddenly it's like, oh, okay, we're going to become a church, and so everything started to become God-centered.
Right.
They kept
That's
talking
when he
about
said
God
he was
all the
Jesus.
time.
He was the second coming of Jesus, and they started calling themselves. He was like father of Christ, and she was mother of Christ. They started referring to themselves this way.
Well, and so some of the people that were following were kind of like that turned some people off. Shockingly, that turned some people off, and of course Jeff just turns it back around. Like, well, that's a block. If you don't believe I'm Jesus, that's you. That's your block. So yeah. And, so now, let's see, Jeff is unreal. So, we meet Angie. She talks about the relationship not working. She wrote, she was desperately writing her twin flame who is in a relationship with a man. She's desperately writing him.
She's still
and he
that.
And he wrote her back. She's like, well, Jeff told me, I need to make this big pitch to him. So she writes him this long text message.
Yeah.
And she gets this text back from him saying, you are not my twin flame. You're delusional.
Yeah. He says, stop, leave me alone.
Yes. So, and things just kind of keep getting worse and worse. The abuse and the grooming and all of that became very widespread and normalized. And this is when Elle finally starts to get a clue. She starts pulling back, and she gets fired from her position. And I think because she kept pushing back, they ousted her. Because what was happening with Elle is, this is another part of it too, is Elle, the only kind of income Elle had was from her coaching, from these coaching sessions. So, you're sort of stuck. Your livelihood is interconnected with everyone and all these people.
Yeah. She finally said, I've had enough. She moved back in with her parents. She walked away. It was just like, this is enough. But then so things were kind of stale. And so Jeff and Shaleia got this idea, and this is really sick. They get this idea because none of the women in their group are meeting any men. It's like they're not. They're not finding their twin flames. This is a group of pretty much 99.9% women. There may have been a dude or two in there at some point. So Jeff and Shaleia decide to change their business model. And they decide to start matching up women in the group with other women in the group and telling them, well, one of you is a divine masculine energy and the other one is a feminine energy. So they couple them up and say, okay, you need to be with this person and you're going to be the masculine, you're going to be the feminine. And they basically encourage them to transition, change their gender. All these, they appointed women to change their gender and be with this other person in the group.
Well, because before, what I love is, why didn't this spark? I mean, I guess the mind control must be so deep, because basically what they said was, oh, those twin flames, like Angie, that guy who's gay, he's not your twin flame. That was a false twin flame experience. That the new rule is that your twin flame has to be in the group.
Right.
And so in order to reach harmonious union, you have to be in the group. And there was already a trans woman. Is it Archilea?
Aricella?
Aricella?
Arcilla, something like that.
And she felt like the group supported her, and, but then what happened was they started, making her sort of this LGBT, cute poster child, and started essentially love bombing her and making her feel like, okay, now this is this direction that we can go in. And in their world, you're either 100% masculine or 100% feminine. Bisexuality and any spectrum does not exist. So they start pushing their agenda of gender. And so they end up pairing 20 people in the group.
Yeah.
And basically, I mean, it is with as much care as they came up with twin flames, they came up with these. I mean, honestly, it was like throwing darts at a dartboard.
Yeah.
Like, you're the feminine, you're the masculine, you're this, just no consideration at all.
And then the people who they said, well, you're supposed to be masculine. They said, well, okay, you need to start cutting your hair. You need to start being more masculine. These were women who were cisgendered women.
Yes.
The thought of transitioning to a man never crossed their mind, like, ever. And they planted this in their mind. And these people were already so far into the cult and so sucked in that they said, okay. And, many of them just, started transitioning. And Angie was the one who was very reluctant. She was the most reluctant. She was like, this doesn't feel right. I don't feel right. But eventually she did.
Yeah. She cut her hair.
She started, presenting as masculine. And she was, with this person in the group that they said she was supposed to be with. She, at one point, she was like, no, I don't think so. But a couple other people, were really, really embraced it and had surgeries and started using, different pronouns and all that. And it was just like, this is wild.
I know. Well, and so with the twins that we met, Paula and Stephanie. So Stephanie, who's in the group. So Stephanie, they find out that Stephanie's twin flame is Kieran. And Kieran is I think identifies as a woman. I believe so. Or maybe transitioned. I don't know. But Kieran,
I don't know.
But basically Stephanie but Kieran lives in Switzerland. So Stephanie hops on a plane, goes to Switzerland to meet Kieran and live, and marry.
I think Kieran was transitioning to trying to transition into this masculine role, because I don't want to say, look, I don't know what's going through these people's minds, but all Jeff and Shaleia cared about was that one person presented as masculine and one person presented as feminine, because they had this whole thing about masculine and feminine energy. And so some people, and some people took it, to different levels and different degrees, but it was just wacko.
Yeah. So we meet, and we meet the moms, Stephanie and Paula's mom. They get together with some other moms who also were, are losing kids to this cult. And we meet some of these other mothers, but it's sort of the same story over and over again, right? Which is the, that, the one woman that we meet whose child is Ray, I believe, very similar situation where Ray is not feeling happy about their life. They're struggling. And again, started typing, got into this group and was told, okay, you're the masculine, you're Ray. And I think Ray ended up having top surgery.
Yeah.
But I thought this was really interesting because we talk to some professors. We meet an investigative journalist throughout this. And one of the professors, Professor Adair, who's a transgender studies expert, he was talking about this idea of what it means to be trans and how dangerous this is. Because really, being trans, how did he phrase it? It's like being trans, it's about, oh, wait a minute, who I'm supposed to be. So closer to who I'm supposed to be. Hold on. It's this idea of closer to who I am versus closer to who I'm supposed to be.
Right.
So for someone who is transitioning, it's this desire and knowing of this is who I am versus this is who I am, quote unquote, supposed to be as a person.
According to Jeff and Shaleia. Yeah.
Yeah. And according to anything, right? Like, they really just made a mockery of this because it takes people it's a lifetime of processing and getting to this point. And these two are just pointing at people going, you do this, you do that.
Right.
And then we learn about the baby. So Jeff and Shaleia are having a baby.
And how did they describe this? It's not a twin. The baby.
No, it's the third flame.
Flame. This baby is going to be the third flame. The baby is going to be divine, something.
Feminine.
Divine. Yeah. And so they're going through fertility treatments
because they've got to make sure that
it's a girl.
I think
they want to make sure it's a girl, right?
But the other thing is that they already named her Grace, and that Grace will not have any sexual partners. The only sexual partner that she'll have is God.
Oh my God!
And what's so scary about this isn't Jeff comparing himself to God? I mean, so their baby is now their third.
I don't know. I guess it's different.
Yeah, Jesus, God. And so the baby ends up being, it's an ectopic pregnancy.
Okay, but wait a minute.
Terminate it.
Let me stop you right there. If you go through fertility treatment, it's impossible to have an ectopic pregnancy because because an ectopic pregnancy only happens if the egg is fertilized in the fallopian tube. If you're going through because they talked about an embryo transfer, the embryo is already made. It has to be put into the. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Maybe I'm wrong.
But no.
Don't you think? Yeah. How would it get up into the fallopian tube?
That's a very good point. Very good point.
Anyway, but something happened. They said that they had to terminate the pregnancy for some reason. So it didn't happen then, but. Update, they did have a baby in April of 2023 named Grace.
Oh, this poor
and
child.
God help that poor innocent child that she was born to these psychopaths. Who,
well, and the other thing,
they're who are going to raise her to tell her that she's their third flame and she can't have sex with anybody but God.
Yes. Well, the other thing that was happening too was because of all these partnerships of, that if they wanted to have kids, Jeff was insisting that the sperm donors come from the group and that he would decide who the sperm donor is. I was shocked that I was just waiting for him to say, I'll be the sperm donor.
I thought that that's what he said.
No, he said he would choose who would be the sperm donor. He said that. I don't know if he's ever been a sperm donor for anybody in this group or not, but that I was like, why don't I assumed the next thought was going to be you're the sperm donor. This is the thing. There are no other men in the group.
No, but that's what I thought he said, that he would be that. I forget who said this, but okay. So part of their master plan was, so they live in Michigan, Jeff and Shaleia, and they were going to buy this big, huge property in Michigan, several acres of land. And they wanted all the twin flame people to move up there, live on the property. And then these couples who, now are, are transgender, it's basically two biological women, and they're forcing one of them to be transgender when they don't even really want to, but they need to have babies. And so they need sperm. And someone said it was going to come from him. I swear to God.
Oh, okay. I
He was
missed
gonna
that
be the
because
sperm donor.
I assumed it was, and I was like, oh, really? You're not offering yourself. So around this time, this one is really bold. Around this time, Nexium, the Vow and Nexium, those documentaries come out, and they make Jeff makes the people watch the documentaries and then write an essay on how Jeff is not a cult leader. And then they forced Keely to have like a 24-hour healing session. Like she could not leave her seat until she said that, Jeff is not a cult leader. And this is when Keely realized, oh crap, I'm in a cult.
Yeah.
And she's like, I got to get out of here. This is not good. And then she went to go get her sister Marley from Utah, because it turns out that Joshua has schizoaffective disorder. Mm-hmm. I mean, very serious disorder. And she is, he was abusive. I mean, it was an awful, awful situation.
It seemed,
then it gets worse and worse.
It seemed like at the end of this documentary, they still hadn't healed their relationship, Keely and Marley.
No.
Because they interview both of them. And there was a really touching scene where Keely goes to meet up with Angie. Mm-hmm. Because Angie eventually realized, this is bullshit. I don't want to be a masculine energy or whatever.
Well, they also were going to take, real quick. They also were going to start taking 50% of their profits. So that was the other thing too. In some ways, they got too greedy because I think that's what shifted for a lot of people. They were like, I can't
afford to live. Yeah. They were going to take 50% of whatever their coaching stuff or whatever. So basically, Keely leaves the cult. Angie has left the cult. They meet up together in a restaurant, and Keely just, unapologetically says, "I'm so sorry for what I did to you. I'm responsible." She totally takes accountability for her role. And Angie's she's just a sweetheart, and she's just like, it's okay. And they have this very touching thing. But Marley is not really ready to forgive Keely. She doesn't want to hear about it.
And we see we see all the moms get together and support each other. And at one point, one of the moms gets a text back from her kid, and she's just like beside herself. And I can't imagine how painful. I mean, Paula and Stephanie's mom was like, I quit smoking a year ago, but I'm back.
Yeah.
We see first scene, she's like smoking away.
We don't blame you. Yeah. That family, that sister, Paula, she's probably going to be the one who brings this cult down, because she is determined. That's her twin sister. They went to some thing in Sedona where they thought that Stephanie might be there, but she wasn't there. It's just, I can't imagine anything more horrible. Your child writes you a letter that says, you know what? Basically, I'm out of your life. Don't contact me. Goodbye. And, it's been 3 years since you talked to them. I mean, how horrible, how painful.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't, I swear I would be like hunting down this fucking Jeff asshole. It's like, I would make it my life's mission, and that's the thing. And so there was I listened this morning to a podcast. What's it called? You're not going to believe this.
Oh,
something like that.
Yeah. Hold on, I'll look it up.
Where they interviewed the filmmakers of this documentary. And it was, it was very interesting. It's like, they were talking about how can you legally get these people? Because usually what happens is the way cult leaders get taken down is they start to break the law in some way. And they were talking about the different ways that
it's called You Can't Make This Up.
You Can't Make
This Up with Rebecca Lavoie from Crime Writers On. If people listen to that great podcast, You Can't Make This Up. This was like a November 15th episode.
So she interviewed the filmmakers, and, they were talking about the different ways you can bring cult leaders down, and you have to get enough evidence that they've committed enough crimes. And they talked about these labor violations, the fact that they had these women working for free. And also too, they equated what was happening within the organization and to sex trafficking, because basically what Jeff and Shaleia did by saying, okay, we're going to pair you up with they matched these people up and basically forced them to be in a couple with these other cult members. And they said that could be sex trafficking. And then, of course, there's the tax stuff with the quote unquote church.
Well, and also we didn't talk about the story, but one of the girls in the group committed suicide.
Yeah.
They never released the name. But basically, what does Jeff do? Jeff blames her. Say she stopped doing the work.
Yeah, she didn't try hard enough.
She didn't try hard enough. Unbelievable. But at the end, we see Keely, and, basically she's like, I'm alone. I'm living in a trailer. She doesn't even want anyone to know where she lives. She's like, I'm alone. I have no sister, no money. I live with guilt every single day of what I did and how it affected other people. And she's trying to rebuild her life. She's applying to law school, which, this might be the big aha moment for her.
Yeah.
But it's utterly heartbreaking that all of these people that are in, that have left, just, they're trying to pick their lives back up. And, this is not who Keely is, but she becomes, because of this, she becomes this perpetrator, and so now she's living with the guilt of the fact that I abuse people too, because of the things that she demanded, because she was the one that had to call, because Jeff and Shaleia never did any of the dirty work.
Right.
They made a lot of, and I've worked at places like this too, and I hate this. It always pisses me off, where these people in the back, they make all the decisions, and then they make you have the really difficult, uncomfortable conversations of decisions that you had no part of, but you then have to support.
Right.
And so Keely was the one that told, Angie that she's a divine masculine, and that I think it's Victoria was her twin flame. I mean, it's unreal. So, yeah, they have a baby now. And there is another, as of 2020, they said at the end, the Farmington Hills Police, which is where they live in Michigan, they're unable to determine if crimes have taken place. The case has been forwarded to the FBI. There's another documentary on Amazon that's also about this that I've heard is pretty good. I think I'm not a deep diver kind of person. Like I've got enough of Jeff and Instagram for a lifetime. If I never have to see Jeff again, I'm fine.
I looked at their Instagram profiles. Well, first of all, the filmmakers in that podcast said that shortly before the release of this documentary, they kind of scrubbed a lot of their stuff from the internet. I think they cut off any sort of comments on their Instagram and took some stuff off. And, they tried to get rid of some evidence. But Jeff has his personal Instagram and Shaleia has her personal Instagram. And,
and how many followers do they have? Do they have tons of followers or no?
I'm sure they do. I don't remember looking at the number. But what they do is they post constantly, like almost daily. And it's all about how wonderful their life is, how wonderful their love is, how great they are. Most of it's like now they've got their baby. It's all about their baby. They do like to show off their wealth. They're kind of always posing in front of like expensive cars. They're having their house renovated. There's a bunch of pictures of Shaleia like going to Gucci and buying stuff and like holding up a Gucci bag or something. And like, they're very materialistic. They act like, look at us.
These spiritual people.
These spiritual people, but we're so rich and we've made it and look what we've done and we're so great. And the funny thing is that they do have comments but there's only about, maybe on each post, I'd say around 20-ish comments, and they're all positive, and they're all kind of the same, like a bunch of heart emojis and this emoji, positive things. Oh, you guys are great. Love you. People refer to them as their gurus. So I think what they do is they tell their followers, okay, every morning at, 8 a.m., we're going to drop a post, and we'll leave the comments open for 3 minutes. And you guys come on and you do all your positive posts, and then they close down the comments.
Interesting.
Because there's zero negative comments. So it's just like, oh God. Yeah. And they're very sappy, syrupy posts. And it's just like, wow.
Which is he verified? Jeff?
I think so. It's Jeff Loves Shaleia. That's the name.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Of his account.
Ugh.
And hers
Jeff
is
Divine.
Yeah.
Okay,
and
I just want to say that he's only got, this makes no sense. He's a public figure. He's only got 3,600 followers. Like, I have 2,500.
No, but
and I feel like I'm way behind.
Because he's got a private account, and he won't probably, well, no, it's not private. It's public.
No, it's not private. It's right here.
But he limits.
Oh, yes. I see him here with baby Grace. Ugh.
Yeah. He somehow limits, somehow does something, I feel like, to limit the followers to only people who are going to post positive things about him.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody else is blocked. I'm sure that's someone's full-time job, at Twin Flames Universe, is to, control this Instagram account.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just I look at that little baby, and it's just like, oh my God, they're just going to they're just going to ruin her.
Yeah. Basically, I mean, you're right. There's he posts a picture with his kid, and there are, 250 likes, and, there's a little video, and you're right. All the comments are, so sweet. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And that's it. But really, for someone who had, I mean, I do think that they're in a little bit of trouble here, because this is not, I thought they would have a lot more followers and a lot more likes and a lot more something. So maybe these documentaries are helping bring down the Twin Flames, that community. But the reality is that, if anyone's telling you something is an absolute guarantee, you gotta just, it's not true.
Well,
it's not true.
I think the greater presence, their greater presence, I think, is on YouTube. And also, too, he was bragging about, remember that there was part of the documentary where he was bragging about the fact that people in third world countries were, paying him $3,000-$4,000 for, his classes or his content or whatever. And pressuring people, saying you got to get people to pay more and pay this and that. And I don't think those people are paying attention to, I don't know, some Netflix documentary. I mean, I don't know. YouTube is a really weird, scary place. It's really the Wild West. I think.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, I do think there are probably some people that are in the group that pay the $222 a month, and probably maybe do that. Kind of are on the periphery. I mean, I think with these large groups, there's the core group people. And then I wonder if they've got just supporters that just sort of support them and kind of sort of pay attention and listen, but they aren't being matched up.
Well, I read something that said that his introductory thing, just to get into Twin Flames universe, it's $2,500.
So I guess they changed the model then, because Keely was saying that she was paying $222 a month. I guess they figured out that wasn't enough money.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there's some entry point where you pay $2,500 just to get access. I'm sure there's a bunch of different plans, and then you have a monthly thing, and then they try to upsell you where they tell you got to do more work. And if you want access to like all of our videos, and then they tell them you should be spending at least a couple hours a day watching all these videos. So for another $3,000 or $4,000 or whatever, you'll get like lifetime access to all of our content and all of these videos.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing is there's a lot of people on YouTube where they really put no production into these videos at all.
No.
These videos there's no like, because I have courses on my website. But the thing is it's like, there's no slides, there's no anything. I swear to God, I really, really want to know truly what goes on in Jeff's head. Do you know what I mean? I really want to know. It's like, do you all believe this, or do you know that this is a sham and that you're making this up as you go along? Because I find it hard to believe that they ever have scripts for any of these talks that they give. Because they just talk incessantly. Yeah, they just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk.
Yeah, it's mostly
about whatever comes to mind.
Yeah, Jeff talking and Shaleia just kind of standing there nodding, and then like saying a few words here and there. But
yeah, I think something's going to happen. I think things are going to blow up. I think that I think Jeff's going to get caught sleeping with someone. I mean, I really do. If Jeff's not already cheating on her, because that's the vibe, right? Like Jeff is. I'm surprised that Jeff has not tried to convince people that he is their twin flame. So,
and Shaleia is just going to have to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean that. Because he is the guru, can have more than one twin flame.
Right. He can change the rules and be like,
yeah,
well, there's twin flame level 1 and then twin flame level 2. And
but because I'm the master twin flame. And, we also here at Psych Legal Pop talk a lot about sister wives. And doesn't this sound familiar?
Yeah.
Of just making it up as you go along? I didn't love them. No.
Yeah.
Just whatever floats your boat. It's unbelievable to me. Anyway, God damn these cults.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this was disturbing. It was disturbing.
It was a doozy. It was a doozy. All right.
Anyway,
do you have anything else to say about escaping twin flames?
I think we've talked long enough about these people.
Oy.
We'll see what happens. Maybe we'll do an update, like, if they ever get
major
in trouble or brought down for anything. But it was very interesting. Very interesting.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So thank you so much for joining us and tuning in. If you like this podcast, we would appreciate it if you would subscribe and also leave us a 5-star rating. That would really help us out, help promote the podcast. And we are on social media at Psych Legal Pop on TikTok and Instagram. And we are still doing Sister Wives season 18. We are in the tell-all stage. That's coming out on Tuesday. And Thursdays, we're doing documentaries. We've got some more documentaries coming up. We've got to talk about what we're going to do. Mm-hmm. And if you have any suggestions, go on social media and let us know. If there's a documentary you'd like for us to cover. There's a lot of good ones out right now. So stay tuned.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you so much. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
This message comes from Jackson. Taxes aren't something you can only think about once a year. With investments, planning for tax day is year-round. Fortunately, Jackson offers tax-efficient products. Visit jackson.com for more information on how our products can make your tax bill a little bit less painful. Jackson is short for Jackson Financial Incorporated, Jackson National Life Insurance Company, Lansing, Michigan, and Jackson National Life Insurance Company of New York, Purchase, New York.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fanfellows wherever you get your podcasts.
Give me a mountain with lots to do. Give me the sunshine, give me a dew. Give me something simple and true. All I need is sunshine and a cool, refreshing mountain dew. So give me my good friends, give me a dew.
Grab some friends and an ice-cold Mountain Dew today.
Mountain Dew.